Hello, teaching veteran here, Trey Reely, and welcome to Band Stuff. Please like and subscribe. Today I'm going to be talking to you about programming. Hopefully you've already watched video number 1, which is on knowing your band. Today, the second part in this series on programming is knowing your audience. What are some things you've got to consider besides your band when you're choosing something for your band to perform? We're going to be talking about 3 different audiences today that you have to consider when you're preparing your music. First audience you have to consider, and I think the most important, which maybe sometimes we might forget when we get caught up in contests and festivals and stuff, are our parents. You know, they're the ones that let the kid be in band in the first place, the one that more than likely bought their instrument. And so I think they're worth considering in the type of programming that we do. I had a friend a few years ago tell me that one time after a concert, he had a parent come up and she says, you know, I just love that song, Do Wah Diddy. When y'all played it, it just sent tingles up and down my spine. And I've always remembered that story when I think about programming, because the difference between what a parent might enjoy and what we're thinking of that they would enjoy could be 2 different things. And it's very unlikely that if they had played the Suite in E flat by Holst that the mom would have come up and said anything at all. So there's a very big difference a lot of times between what we're teaching and what parents want to hear. And I know this seems kind of like common sense, but I've seen this issue for over 30 years, particularly at all region type events with middle schoolers and junior high, and in particularly in high school, that you have guest clinicians who somehow feel that it's beneath them to do something that's actually lighter and really fun to play, that's more of a jazz or pop nature, and who's all in the audience at these things. It's hundreds and hundreds of parents. And so think about the parents. Throw them a bone, so to speak. You know, a few years ago I saw a guy do a senior high first band clinic, and I hadn't seen a clinic in years that had been done with advanced players that played anything less than grade 4 and 5 pieces by serious composers. And I saw a guest conductor actually do a very, very nice, very difficult arrangement of themes from The Wizard of Oz. And it was so refreshing. And the parents really, really enjoyed it because most of them could recognize everything that was going on in it. So don't ever have a concert, unless you're just playing your concert assessment or concert contest pieces, and that's specifically what that concert is for. But other than that, learn to lighten up. What are your parents going to like? And sometimes what your parents like is going to be different even from what their kids like and what you like. So consider the parents. And I have a few practical suggestions along this line. One thing that I did in my last several years of teaching was I did themed concerts. And these were always a lot of fun. And this was my senior high band, but of course you can do this with any level band. But we had a Halloween concert. We had Christmas and February concert. Now the reason we did that is we'd been iced and snowed out of so much school that we couldn't give our concert in December and January like we wanted. So we did a Christmas and February concert and had a lot of Christmas themed music. And it seemed like doing it out of season actually made it kind of more fun. I had a cartoon concert where we play everything was cartoon themed. And in all of these concerts, the kids dressed up. Obviously, they had the choice of cartoon characters. Halloween, obviously Halloween costumes they could wear. Christmas, we all wore Christmas-themed clothing. And if you'll look in the description of the YouTube, I'll have a couple links that you can click on of suggested pieces to play for a Halloween concert. And also I've got a list of novelty songs if you want to play some kind of concert just full of novelty songs, or just want to add a novelty song to a program that you already have. Another concern about programming that's very, very practical in terms of your parents is trying to shorten your concerts up. Years ago, my concert typically started with beginning band, then you have the junior high band, then the high school band, even through the jazz band in there somewhere. And usually by the end of the final song, the audience was kind of in a sleep-induced coma, listening to all that and having this very, very long program. And so I decided along the way and to change things up, because those kids worked too hard to not have a very, very alert audience. So I did two things. One, it took up an extra night of the week, but I went to where I divided up and put our beginning band and junior high band on one night and our senior high band on another. And it was much better for everyone to have two shorter concerts. And of course I was up there an extra night, during the week. But to me, I was just felt like it was better for our audience to have two separate nights that were shorter concerts that everybody could pay attention to from beginning to end than one long one that drags on and on. And of course, one of the things that drags a lot of the final concerts along are the awards. And those really stretch things out. So another adaptation I made was only present the really big awards at the concerts. And then we would have a band banquet to give out all the other awards. Because we give out quite a few awards. I'm one of those big award givers. I'm not the everybody gets a trophy kind of person, but everybody had to do something to earn something. I made sure they were recognized, and we would do those at the banquets, and those would shorten the concerts up easily by 20 or 30 minutes. So think about your parents in terms of how much you program as well. Number 2 in knowing your audience is performing for your school. I don't know if you've ever been brave enough to do that before, and I'm talking about within school, not at a halftime show. But I've got a few guidelines if you want to attempt that I've learned in some ways the hard way from experience. Is if you're going to play for your school, make sure that your principal or assistant principal, somebody in authority, introduces the band, sets expectations on how the audience should behave, and have them make sure that they have faculty who like to disappear and hide, and I understand that. I want to do it too. Stationed strategically around the audience so they can pull out any troublemakers that aren't being respectful like they need to. And I would not play for the school unless this is met. I made the mistake of playing once early in my career, and I started the concert myself in terms of introducing the group, and it made me the bad guy when I had to not start a song until everything was quiet, or I had to kind of get onto the audience a little bit. It kind of made me the bad guy. I want to be totally free from anything disciplinary when I'm about to introduce my band to play the music. So I would make that, because your kids deserve a good audience. So have an administrator there to set things up for you. The other thing that I did in terms of performing was I would go to the people. And as far as programming, this means you need to pick some selections that will work for this. I took my percussion section one time. We played a piece that used garbage cans. And we placed garbage cans around the cafeteria, so they kind of just looked like, they were part of the cafeteria scene. And the kids got up before everybody else did, went and grabbed the trash cans, brought them out, and played a piece, with the funky beat and all that kind of thing. And they loved playing. And then their fellow student body members, non-band members, just loved it because that was cool. What can be cooler than playing funky beats on trash cans in the cafeteria at lunch? So go to the people. Another practical suggestion of going to the people is our junior high had what's called a movie club. And I don't know what education is coming to these days, but anyway, they had a movie club once a week where they would go watch movies. And I took the jazz band to play, our high school jazz band to play for that junior high group of kids. And we just played 2 or 3 tunes right before they showed the movie. So find some very creative ways to go to the student body and pick music that's appropriate for that particular occasion. And finally, choosing music for contest. I don't know what's called in your state. We've changed it to concert assessment is what it's called now. But basically in Arkansas, we play 3 selections for 3 judges, generally in the months of March and April. We're required to play in March, 2 other selections that come off a graded list, and then there's a sight reading portion of that contest as well. So suggestions on this are a little bit different than it might be when performing for parents or for the school. When you're picking your music, you need to use a good mix of optimism and reality. You know, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And you need to play to your strengths. Now, I believe in pushing kids through playing difficult literature as well, but you've got to make sure you pick something that's difficult, that stretches them, but it's not beyond their reach. And that's kind of the trick, is picking a place where it's right now they can't do it, but with a couple months of hard work, they will be able to do it. I believe in challenging the kids, but I don't think a concert assessment or a concert contest is a place to go and just push them so hard with things that they can't do. Judges in general should not give you a lot of credit just for doing something difficult if you don't do it well. I know in times of my career I felt really bad because I'm like, man, we were playing stuff that was so difficult, you know, and we got this rating. That band over there did something so easy and they got a higher rating than we did. Well, I got over that at some point, you know, particularly when I started judging, because I realized a judge has to judge you on what you do. And you have the choice of playing something a little easier. That's where the choice is. And if you choose to do something more difficult, it needs to be really, really well done. You know, we shouldn't be asking for breaks for a performance that's not very good just because the stuff's hard. So if you're going to do something hard, it needs to be done right. And that's all the judge can go by. In our state, we have a rubric that lays out how it has to be played. And there's nothing on there about, you know, it's okay for them to do this wrong, this wrong, this wrong because the piece is so hard. You know, if you choose something that difficult, it just needs to be right. So I believe that contest is not the place to play some piece that you've always wanted to play and that you know the group can't play very well. Okay? A lot of times I would use pieces that I knew were beyond us, but I really wanted to play and I thought the kids needed to play, and I would do that on a parent concert. You know, or we would just rehearse it a lot, or you know, or something. But there is a certain element of strategy to going to a concert assessment that if you're going to go, play to your strengths, because that's one of the reasons you're going, is to perform real, real well. And you want to learn a lot as well, but you don't really learn a lot when you go and you play something that's way over the band's head, and you know it is, and the judge knows it is. You know, I think it's better to be judged on something that you're doing the very, very best that you can. It's very well within your abilities, and then the judges can get tickier and tickier about things and moving you to the next level. And then maybe doing something that's a less technical will allow you to meet other challenges in terms of your group's tone, their intonation, their balance, their expression. There's so many things that you can work on in pieces that are maybe not even, that are not as technically challenging as something else that you can do. Because I've heard any number of pieces, any number of bands that are doing something that's, you know, technically very, very hard, but they're just not handling it. And as a result, they didn't spend much time on other aspects of playing that they maybe could have handled if they played a little bit easier piece and really concentrated on those types of concepts of tone, intonation, etc. And those things can really take a lot of time. And if you're spending a lot of time just beating out notes and that kind of thing, you don't have time for some of the things that really will impact the band the whole time in everything that they play. And another suggestion that might help some of you, particularly those of you that have a small band. My band at Riverview had about 45 members, and the talent level went all the way from barely being able to play their way out of a paper bag all the way up to all state level, you know, all in one group. And so I'm a big believer in challenging that upper end and then trying to pull those that don't play as well, you know, up to their level. And the result would be a lot of times I would have music that these guys just had no chance at. And the thing that really helped a lot was I did a lot of editing. Fortunately, with Finale and all sorts of music programs right now, it's not that hard to rewrite things. And so I did a lot of rewriting of parts for players who are not as technically skilled, so that they could play as much as possible. And it's a lot better than just marking out and saying don't play here, don't play there. It's just editing stuff to where other sections maybe had 16th notes, they could play quarters or eighths in a way that that part fits in. All right, that's all I have for today. So far in program, we've covered know your band, know your audience, and then my next video, video 3, we're going to talk about know proper pacing and also know your plan. So until my next video, have a great week.